continuing our reading from the introduction. You didn't hear that. We are continuing our reading from the introduction of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And welcome to everyone. Hare Krishna. I am going to shed more light on the topic. Yes. Now we have more light on the topic. And I had a long talk with the internet company, and they said they were going to improve it, but it's already freezing up on my screen. So, yeah, it doesn't look like it's improving. I don't know why. Oh no, they said within 24 hours. It's not 24 hours yet, so it's definitely freezing up. And if I could control my camera and get a lower resolution, it would solve the problem, but I don't. It doesn't offer that option. So as long as you can hear me, I think we're okay. Yeah. So now we're going to be reading about Sheksastakam. That is the plan. First we'll do kirtan. Or maybe we should sing Sheksastakam. Would you rather do that? Chetudharpanamarjanam Pavamahadavagni nirvapanam Shreya Kuriravya Chandrikavitharanam Vijavadujivam Anandam Burivardhanam Pariparam Puramitra Shadanam Sarvatmashnapam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Statarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mama Pitu Daivam Vidisham Ihajani Nanaraga Trinarapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtani Ashadahari Nadanam Najanam Nashandarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamai Mama Janmani Janmani Share Bhavatad Bhakti Rahituki Tvai Ainanda Tunuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavambura Kripaya Tava Pada Pankajas Titiruli Sadrisham Vichintaya. I'm so used to singing these in English. For the last 2 years I've been singing them in English. Yeah. What's the next one? Why don't I remember the next one? Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. And that's only verse 6, right? So, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? Why can't I remember? Flowing Pulakarnichitam papukada tava grama tava kahane bhavishati. What's the first line? I forget. Oh, crazy. Ashtishtabha paravartam panastamam arashanam mamahatam karotu va yattata va vidadavatalam pado mapananattastu sevana paraha. The first 2 lines of the 7th verse I went blank on. In that case, we'll have to sing it in English. With your permission, of course. Krishna Govinda. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? Flowing constantly when I chant your name. Should we sing that? A little variety. Oh, we have the other melody. When will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? When will my voice be choked up? When will my hair stand on end? At the recitation of your holy name, the recitation of your holy name, at the recitation of your holy name, at the recitation of your holy name. You want to sing it together, everyone? When will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? And when will my voice choke? When will my hair stand on end? At the recitation of your holy name, the recitation of your holy name, at the recitation of your holy name, at the recitation of your holy name, holy name. So it looks like today's class is about Sheksastakam. I have to close this door. Don't go anywhere. Okay. The thing about this verse that I just sang is that it's also there in the second canto, where the verse you probably know. It's the verse about the steel-framed heart. I could sing a song. My heart is like a steel frame, or like stone. I don't know if steel, Prabhupada uses the word steel. Yeah, maybe. Maybe they had steel-framed buildings in those days. My heart is like steel, because when I chant the holy name, it doesn't melt. That's the idea. And so, yes. Nothing happens. I chant Hare Krishna, nothing happens. But when I watch a movie, I cry. Or when I get pizza and ice cream, I jump up and down. But when I chant Hare Krishna, how do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? Well, of course. Sometimes we feel ecstatic, but sometimes we don't. So it's actually a prayer for, one way we understand this prayer is that when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? When will my voice choke? When will my hair stand on end? These are symptoms of bhava. So it's a prayer for when will that day come when I achieve bhava? And on that day when I have bhava, then when I chant the holy name, there will be bhava. There will be those signs, ashta, the 8 signs, ashta sattvika bhav. 1 minute. There will be those 8 signs of bhav, ashta sattvika bhav. So that's the prayer. When will it happen? When will that day come when it happens? It's nice to meditate on a higher stage and think, when will that day come? I was giving class yesterday morning. It was a private class. But this question came up. And we had talked about it also. When you hear about a higher stage, there's 2 things that usually happen. Either you become excited that this is something that I will someday achieve, or this is the direction I'm going. Or you become depressed that I'll never get there. And we're meant to become excited, for sure. So when will that day come? So that should be an exciting thought. I'm looking forward to it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, as we've discussed many times, Kabe habe bolo sei dinamar. When will that day come? Sei dinamar. When will that day come? When? And the whole song is about when I am Krishna conscious, when I feel ecstasy, chanting the name Gauranga, and so forth. So the same idea. So this is the hankering of the devotee. He's always hankering to come to a higher stage. Or even if you say, when will I have a taste? Taste is ruchi. So that's a higher stage. So any higher stage, even if you're on bhajan, if you're on the stage of bhajan or kriya, you're just practicing Krishna consciousness, but not yet really steady, still disturbed by the modes of nature, then you could pray, when will nishta come? When will steadiness come? When you're on nishta, then you can pray. You pray for anartha nivritti. When will there be an end of my, or minimization of my anarthas? Then you're on anartha nivritti. You pray, when will nishta come? You're nishta. When will ruchi come? You're on ruchi. When will sakti come? You're on sakti. When will bhava come? You're on bhava. When will prema come? So it's natural. I'm chanting Hare Krishna and hoping, praying, desiring to come to another level. So it's nice to remember that. Sometimes when I'm chanting, I think, all right, the next mantra. Maybe it's the next mantra that my heart will melt. And the next mantra comes, no, my heart didn't melt, at least not as much as it should melt. Maybe it's the next mantra. Well, it was okay. Maybe we can go further. Maybe the next mantra. That's how we want to feel, not what's the use? All the mantras are bad. I will never attain this higher stage. It's not possible for me. It's not going to happen. We shouldn't ever doubt the power of the holy name. Of course, we may doubt our ability to apply the process properly. But even that, I don't really think, in a sense, that's justifiable. Because at any moment, we can improve ourselves. At any moment, one can make a decision that now I want to improve my japa. I'm going to do what I have to do to improve. I'm going to read books about it. I'm going to, whatever I have to do, I'm going to do it. So that decision can be made, and there's really nothing stopping anybody from doing it, right? So even that feeling that, well, I've been chanting for a long time and I'm not very Krishna conscious, I don't have much taste. But still, it's the holy name is always powerful. It's not powerful because I don't experience the power. It's just not powerful because I may not be taking it, or I may not be living a Krishna conscious life, as Krishna conscious a life as I need to live in order to fully appreciate it. So that's the idea. So that means it's always accessible. So don't ever become discouraged and think it's not accessible. It always is accessible. Right? You agree? You must agree. You must agree. Otherwise, if you don't agree, then that kind of becomes an excuse. Well, I don't think it's really possible for me. I'm not very Krishna conscious. I'm not very serious. I'm not very this or that. Well, but you can become more this or that. There's nothing stopping you. The laws of your government are not stopping you. Oh, you might say, my mind is stopping me. Yeah, but you're not your mind, and you can control that. Oh, it's difficult. Okay, it's difficult. That's true. But not impossible. Isn't that what Krishna is telling Arjuna? Yeah, it's difficult, but you can do it. You have to practice. You have to work on it. Practice makes perfect. So that's the idea. Hare Krishna. That's the idea. you can do it. But you have to apply yourself. You have to want to do it, but then you can do it. That's the idea. So the holy name is powerful. And we're thinking, if I continue chanting and trying to improve, if I'm sincere at heart, have some seriousness about it, then bhava is possible to achieve. And I can look forward to that day. I mean, it's better to look forward to that than look forward to something material, or just look forward to how bad the world's going to get, right? Because it's kind of discouraging when we see what's going on in the world. But this is very encouraging. Bhava is very encouraging, isn't it? I mean, the possibility of achieving that is very encouraging. I see Shabbat. No, that's 8. I was looking for... What's the first 2 lines of 7? Yugai tam nimesh. No. When will my eyes? Chakshusha parvishaitam shunjayatam. Why can't I remember? That's the problem of getting old. Or maybe not sleeping enough. Dalya Dasi says, when I don't feel and think chanting holy name, how can I recover hope? Well, thank you for that question. This is kind of a paradox, because I think the greatest way to achieve hope is to actually chant properly, because then you get realization, you get experience. Well, let's take the example of a relationship. Because we have a relationship with the holy name, and so I would say, well, rate your relationship with the holy name on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being poor and 10 being excellent. Just as sometimes in therapy, you might be asked to rate your relationship with your spouse on a scale of 1 to 10. And so the couple may say, well, I'd rate it like a 2. So if it's at a 2, it's pretty hopeless. And then the therapist may say, I think I could get it to a 7. Will you trust me that I can do that? Would you be willing to work on that? If the couple wants to save their marriage, improve their marriage, of course they'll say yes. And if he gives them processes, or processes, depending on how you learn to pronounce that word, or depending on what country you're from, if he gives you some processes, and the processes are working and the relationship is getting better, then your inspiration to continue those processes and your hope naturally increases. It's no longer theoretical. It's no longer, well, let's see if it works. It's working. You're having experience. So if you don't do the processes correctly, they're not going to work. And if they don't work, you lose hope. So I think with japa, it's very similar. Because if you chant properly, you have experience that I actually have a relationship with the holy name, and I can continually improve that relationship. If we chant improperly, then the problem you're having, then it becomes, it's like you read about the holy name and the glories of it, but you feel so alienated from it because you don't have the experience. So yeah, I know it says that in the books, but I don't have that experience. So where am I going to get motivation if I don't have the experience? That's the problem. You can only motivate yourself so long. Of course, you get motivation intellectually. You know you should do it. You vow to do it. But even that really doesn't work well if you're not chanting properly. If you're just chanting and not getting experience, it's better than not chanting, of course. And you're keeping your vow, but you're not getting the full benefit of it. As with anything, if you don't do it correctly, you might get some benefit, but not the full benefit. So I'm sure this makes sense to all of you, and it's also my experience, and I'm sure it must be your experience as well. When you're chanting properly, you have experience with the holy name, and so that this lethargy, it goes away because it's tasteful. And anything which is tasteful, we are naturally attracted to continue doing it, and we want to do it, and we want to do it more, and we're happy to do it. And not only that, but when we do it properly, it's not only just that we feel good, but it's helping us tremendously in our spiritual lives. So I personally feel, based on my experience over all these years, that chanting improperly is one of the worst things that we can allow ourselves to do. I would even go so far as saying, well, it's, I don't want to say it's the worst thing, because there may be something that I haven't thought of yet that's worse. So let's say it's one of the worst things you can do in your spiritual life, to neglect improving your chanting, or to allow your chanting not to be good. Because that's what we do. Sometimes we don't chant well, and we allow ourselves to continue not to chant well, isn't it? We've all done that. So that's one of the worst things we can do, because the holy name has the power to give you love of Krishna. But it doesn't have the power to give you love of Krishna if you don't take it properly. It'll give you something, but not much. It's like you have a medicine, and you have to take 5 pills every day, and you take like 1 pill every other day. Maybe it'll do something, but not much. Or maybe it won't do anything. It's not enough. So, we can never say the holy name is not doing anything. But we want it to help us progress very quickly in our spiritual life. And that's not going to happen if we don't take it properly. Sometimes we see in the Krishna consciousness movement something we see in other religious movements. And this is something that, as a young devotee, we were a little proud, because we were brahmacharis. So our lives were, quite regulated. Our lives were quite strict. And so we would see people of other religions, they'd be going to a baseball game or going to the movies, and we're thinking, they say they're Christians, but they do all these things. It doesn't make sense to us. And then as Krishna consciousness developed, expanded, bigger congregations, more people coming, we started to see the same thing within our own movement. Devotees doing things that during Prabhupada's time they didn't do, and we were like confused, and it looked very similar. Of course, today, having seen it, I understand, because congregations are broader. We're not just brahmacharis living in the temple. People are gradually becoming Krishna conscious. But for those who were more Krishna conscious, who have kind of sunk a little bit, often it's because their chanting sunk. And the consequence of their chanting sinking, so to speak, sinking, is that other activities become attractive. And the consequence of chanting improving is other activities become less attractive. And that's why I say this is not an area of sadhana you want to just get done negligently, because it has its effects. And the effect is, if we don't chant well, at least one of the effects may be, for many of us, is just a loss of inspiration and a loss of detachment, or not a development of enough detachment that is required. So that's a thought. And so therefore, Mahaprabhu was praying, I want to taste, I need to taste. We should all be thinking like that. When will that taste come? So if the taste comes, that's very easy to chant. As it's easy to eat something that maybe you didn't like before, but you developed a taste for it. Like we say, it's an acquired taste. You eat it, you don't like it, but after a while you get used to it and you start liking it, and then you eat it, which is good because it's healthy. But initially, you didn't like it. Now it's good that you like it. So we want to be that way with the holy name. So, I could have answered your question in another way, Dahlia. Like, you have to be more determined. You have to be more strict. You have to read more about the holy name. But I chose to answer it this way. And the other answers I just gave are also good. But the way I chose to answer it now is the real answer. If you have good experiences every day with the holy name, there'll be inspiration. Yugaitam nimeshena, no, Sheksastakam. No, that verse I chanted. It's verse 7. We need the Sanskrit for verse 7. The first two lines. Or maybe I got the verses mixed up. It's, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly? Lord, chant your holy name. That verse. So, Yugaitam nimeshena Sheksastakam. Shundaitam. No. That's, I feel the whole world is vacant. I'm going brain dead. This is crazy. When will my eyes be decorated with tears? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? That's also Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritikita. That verse from Guru Bhashtaka. My guru is chanting, he's choking, his hairs are standing on end, tears are coming down. Yeah, that's Baba. Well, Stephanie says, the holy name comes down from the transcendental world through a pure devotee, then into our hearts, then out of our mouths. Correct? Yes. Well, that is correct if it actually gets in your heart. You can also come down into your ear and bypass your heart and just go straight to your mouth. That is not the holy name proper. If it bypasses your heart and simply goes, you're chanting from your mouth, not from your heart, that's not the proper way to chant. The idea of this example, Stephanie and all of you, the idea of this example is that the real holy name should be a reflection of the heart, of the prayer of the heart. And so then it comes to the mouth. Just like Stephanie, I can say, I like you. But I may say that, but I don't mean it. But I'm just saying that to make you feel good. Or maybe I want something from you, so I want you to think that I like you, so I just say it. And if I say it, but I don't say it from the heart, it may not communicate. You may not believe me. You may think like, I don't feel like he means it. I'm suspicious of it. But if I actually like you, and then I say I like you, you will believe it. You will feel it because it's come from the heart. So we're chanting to Krishna with our tongue, but if it's not coming from our heart, then, and we're saying, the Maha Mantra means, Krishna, I want to serve you, but it's not coming from the heart, then Krishna, yeah, you say that, but you don't really mean it. Of course, I can't say that Krishna is actually thinking that way, but I imagine something along those lines is, it's nice that you're chanting, but it would be better if you actually mean it. So we hear the holy name. When it goes to the heart, then it means that I'm chanting because I want to advance in Krishna consciousness. I'm chanting because I'm praying to Krishna for pure devotional service. That's my mood while I'm chanting. So it's coming from the heart. And now it's communicating to Krishna because it's coming from the heart. Does that make sense? But if it's coming from the mouth, then it's just more mechanical. And I'm not really conscious of what I'm doing and what I'm chanting and the mood. I'm just chanting. So sometimes I say, are you actually chanting or are you just chanting? So this is a good question to ask yourself while you're chanting. Am I actually chanting or am I just chanting? Just chanting means I've got my rounds to get done, so I'm just chanting. Or are you actually doing it? You know. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said chanting is not lip deep, it's heart deep, he meant that chanting can go into the ear and straight to the lip and bypass the heart, or it can go from the heart. And then it goes to the lips. The heart is moving. I like you, Stephanie. The heart is moving it, or I want to take I don't like you, but I'm just saying it. The lips are saying it, but the heart's not saying it. So you don't want to chant just with your lips. You want to chant with your heart, and you want your lips to reflect what's in your heart. But if there's nothing in your heart, your lips are reflecting nothing. Right? So you don't want your lips reflecting a void heart. That's the idea. And then when we're chanting, does this happen every time with each mantra, or is the name planted in one? No, yeah, every mantra. It is on a higher stage. It's planted, yeah. But any moment you can chant in any number of ways. You could chant like a robot zombie, or you could chant purely from desire to become more advanced. Depends on it can change in any moment. It was one of the most amazing things is Prabhupada told us that a devotee can fall down from the stage of bhava. It was like inconceivable, when we first heard that. How is that possible? You could fall down from the stage of bhava, but it is possible. So you could chant a really good round and a really bad round, and a really okay round and a more than okay round, and an excellent round and a horrible round, because we're being influenced a lot by the modes of nature. Conditioned souls. That's the problem. Then when we're more elevated, then there's more steadiness. And so that's why you have to practice chanting properly, to get steadiness. So practice, coming from, just don't chant with your lips. Chant from your heart. That means you're desiring, you're praying to become pure. Jyotirmaya says, I have had a very difficult 2 weeks, and it influenced also my chanting at a point. Yesterday afternoon, I went out for 3 hours japa walk, not caring about anything, didn't care how many rounds I did, just trying to get back close to my chanting, and then see more. Okay, hold on to your seats, everyone. And this morning, the day started differently, and my japa was much better. Yeah, very good. Testimonial, okay. There it is. Nayanam Garuda Shuddharaya Vadanam Gadgada Rudaya Gira Pulakar Nishitam Papukada Tamanama Gurne Bhavishate. Thank you, Keshava. Nayanam Garuda Shuddharaya. Yes, that's the one. And Marco got it also. But Marco came in second place. Okay, so now we can read something about Sheksastakam. I don't know how much Prabhupada's going to say. So we continue reading. The Lord left only 8 shlokas of his instructions in writing, and they are known as the Sheksastakam. It's interesting that Prabhupada says he left it in writing, because in the CC he's reciting it. Maybe he also wrote it down. That's what Prabhupada is saying. All other literatures of his divine cult were extensively written by the Lord's principal followers, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan and their followers. The cult of Chaitanya philosophy is richer than any other, and it is admitted to be the living religion of the day, with a potency for spreading Vishwa Dharma, or universal religion. That's a nice word. Vishwa means universe. Like Vishvarupa, the form of the universe, Vishvambar, the maintainer of the universe, Vishvatma, the soul of the universe, Vishwadharma, the Dharma, universal religion. What is your religion? It is Vishwadharma, universal religion. What is universal religion? Glorify God, chant his name. Okay. We are glad that the matter has been taken up by some enthusiastic sages like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj and his disciples. We shall eagerly wait for the happy days of Bhagavad Dharma, or Prema Dharma, inaugurated by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, just an interesting contextual note here. Prabhupada wrote this before he came to America. So you may be wondering, why is he saying that? I hope it'll be, we're glad the matter's been taken up, and we eagerly wait for happy days of Bhagavad Dharma, Prema Dharma inaugurated. I don't know if you picked up on that. Why, you're thinking, why didn't Prabhupada say we in ISKCON are doing this? Because there was no ISKCON. This is written before, pre-ISKCON. The first canto is pre-ISKCON. So anything you read in the first canto, it's not going to be, there's not going to be any, what's the word I'm trying to think of? There's not going to be any indication of an ISKCON existing, as it was all written in Vrindavan before there was an ISKCON. So, something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah. So, Prabhupada's talking about here Vishwa Dharma. And interesting, I think it's interesting, or more than interesting, it's important for us to note. I'm trying to sit up straight and I keep relaxing back like this. Okay, I'm going to sit up. We're talking about Bhakti Siddhanta, so I should sit up straight, right? Did you ever see pictures of Bhakti Siddhanta? He's always straight. Very straight, tall, austere. Yeah. Maybe you'll take me more seriously, right? If I stand up straight and look at you. But one thing that we definitely have to note about Srila Prabhupada, and if you haven't noted it, but if you have, you probably have noted it. You probably have noted it many, many times, but I just wanted to bring it more to the forefront. And that's this idea of Vishwa Dharma, a universal religion, a world in which everyone is chanting the names of God, a world in which there are kings who are rishis. Prabhupada had that vision. I was just listening to a lecture yesterday, and he was talking about Rajarshi. Rajarshi means a king who is a rishi, and he said this is how it has to be. The kings have to be rishis, otherwise you get what you have today. So Prabhupada was describing the situation in the world when he was giving this lecture, which was late 60s, early 70s, which basically is the same as it is today, maybe worse, but more or less the same problems, or different varieties of problems within the same genre. And he was saying that's because the leaders are not Rajarshis. He said, this democracy, it doesn't work. You need monarchy with righteous kings who are sadhus. Of course, where are you going to get the sadhus, and who's going to vote them in office? And what are we going to do? The Hare Krishna movement is going to do a coup d'etat of every government in the world. That's not the way it's going to work, obviously, but the fact that Prabhupada's talking about it I think we have to note that. You would ask yourself, why is he talking about Rajarshi kings? Why is he talking about Vishwa Dharma? Because that's what he wants to establish. That's his goal. In establishing ISKCON, it doesn't mean that everyone is going to be a member of ISKCON, but he wants to ensure that everyone is religious, everyone is following their religion, following religious principles. And as far as possible, people are becoming advanced spiritually. And materialism is basically becomes neutralized. That was Prabhupada's vision. He wanted to do that. He thought that it's possible. So now we are his followers, and if we can't understand how that would happen, that's okay. But we have to try to understand what we can do to come closer to making that a reality, because that's what he wanted. That's his vision, right? So he's left so many clues that that's what he's wanted. I've stated it directly, and here's a clue. Just this word Vishwa Dharma, it's a clue. This is how Prabhupada is thinking. The religion, a universal religion of glorifying God, where cows will be protected, Brahmins will be protected, and Brahmins will be guiding society, kings will be saints. The business class, their main service will be to protect cows and grow food. and they will, and the other classes, Shudra will serve and be happy and be protected, taken care of. Women will be protected, children, elders, cows, Brahmins, like that. What is beauty? That's, that's the Shastra. That's the way it's supposed to be. So Prabhupada had that vision. That's how he was thinking, You may say, well, that seems impossible, but so was coming to America and making the world Krishna conscious. That was also impossible. So, what do they say? Success leaves clues. Well, Prabhupada's leaving the clue how it would be successful. So let's read the Siksastakam. We chanted it already. Now we can read it in English. And this translation may be slightly different than what you're used to hearing. This is the translation I grew up on. Glory to Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to approach you by chanting your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women. Nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace. Even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. I always said, he handles me roughly by his embrace. It seems, because Prabhupada was later edited by his embrace, but here it's in his embrace. It means he's like wrestling. Even if he has me in a headlock, and it won't, something like that. In other words, he can handle me anyway. So this is the end of the reading. So that means, tomorrow is our Russian class on Guru Tattva. And that means on Friday we're going to continue reading we're going to start reading some of the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which I think will be extremely important and enlightening to help enter the mood of the heart, of the mind, of a pure devotee, how he's praying. As Prabhupada said, we should enter the mood. And the acharyas leave that mood so we can understand this is the mood of pure bhakti, like osmosis, take on their mood. So that gives us now time to discuss in more depth the Siksastakam. And Siksastakam is taking us from Shraddha to Prema. Each verse or set of each verse may represent one or more of the stages of bhakti. And the first verse is meant to give us faith in the power of the holy name, of what it can do, and give us an appreciation. All victory. What is victory? When we say victory, what are we talking about? Who are we fighting? In one sense, we're fighting our conditioning. In another sense, we're fighting our attraction to the material world. We're fighting our own minds, our own resistances. We're fighting our own envy, our own resentment. We know what we're fighting because we fight it every day. It's there. So, Param Vichayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. So one meaning of that is that the holy name will be victorious over our own minds and hearts. And victorious in that love of God will overcome us. And taking that to the outside world, it will be victorious in helping us create the same effect for other people. It will be victorious in elevating the world, or anyone who takes it will be victorious in their spiritual practice and in their effort to come closer to Krishna and eventually develop love of Krishna. It will be so victorious that it will give us love of Krishna. And then it's also giving these many other benefits. It will cleanse the soul. It will satisfy the soul. It's basically the first verse is saying the holy name is a spiritual panacea because there's so many benefits. Sometimes, there's a medicine, especially herbal medicine, they'll say it's really good for this particular either ailment, or it's really good to give you, it'll improve your circulation or it'll help your memory. But a lot of times with these medicines, it said not will it only improve your memory, but it'll give you energy. It will give you stamina. You will sleep better. You'll lose weight. Like all these benefits, but the main benefit was one, but there's so many benefits. The holy name is like a spiritual panacea. So the first verse is really meant to emphasize Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. In Kali Yuga, you won't find a better medicine than this. And that's our experience. We already know that. It's the best medicine. We've all done other things. And that point I was making previously, it's not that we just want to know that it's the best medicine. We have to experience it. The worst thing for our spiritual life is not to experience the power of the process. That is it's because it disturbs our faith. It's very difficult to maintain faith in a process in which you have little experience of its effectiveness or its efficacy, which means the same thing. So, because chanting is central to the process of bhakti in Kali Yuga, it's so important. We do it well enough that we have positive experiences, both while we're chanting and after we're chanting, the effects of it in our spiritual life, in creating, just increasing interest in service and sadhana, and increasing disinterest in everything that does not support bhakti. Because that's what the holy name will do. If you let it, it'll do that. If you don't want it to do it, okay, so now, this is going to sound funny, but I've said funnier things than this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are afraid of becoming too Krishna conscious, especially too fast, then I would recommend you do not chant the holy name properly. Because if you do, you may not be ready for what happens in your life. Okay, that sounds funny, but the fact is that some devotees think this way, and some devotees think this way, and they don't even know they're thinking this way. But if I chant purely, if I chant without offense, or as close to chanting without offense as I can, I will make advancement very, very quickly. And some of you are thinking in the back of your minds, or maybe in the front, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I even want to be advanced that quickly. I don't even know if I'm ready to be that advanced right now. And so it's better I don't chant well, and then I won't have to deal with my advancement. And I know some of you are thinking, devotees actually think like that? I can't believe they think that way. And some of you are thinking, yeah, that's exactly how I think. Hare Krishna. So I will leave it at that. I will leave it for you to deal with that. And let's go to the next verse. But as you know, my recommendation is chant properly, become Krishna conscious soon. Oh yeah, so I don't want to chant properly now because I don't know if I'm ready for all that advancement. Some bad news is you don't know how long you're going to live. And we need as much time as possible to be Krishna conscious. So to kind of slow it down makes no sense. What to speak of put it on hold till later. You know, it's like we're on a race. We're on a race against death. Death's coming. It's coming behind us. It's going to catch up at some point, and we're rushing to Krishna, and we're trying to get to Krishna before death gets to us, right? So I don't think we should be thinking, well, I don't think I'm ready for higher levels of spiritual advancement. No, you don't have that much time before you die. You don't want to die in ignorance. So that kind of thinking is like, we need to throw that thinking in the dustbin. Maybe we should do a video called Dustbin Thinking. All the things that all this kind of crazy thinking that we need to throw in the dustbin. This is one of them. There are many. Now, some of you might think, well, I don't think that way. I can't imagine thinking that way. And then 10 years from now, you might find yourself thinking that way. Don't doubt the power of Maya. Yeah, Maya is amazing. Yeah, and what you're thinking today is no guarantee you'll be thinking that way either positively or negatively in the future. So, yes, that's an important point. I don't know if I can handle it. You know, that's really a paradox, because I don't know if I could handle all the bliss, but specifically, well, I could handle the bliss. I don't know if I could handle all the detachment. No, you could handle it, because detachment is something which you can't have if you're not qualified for it. So you never have to worry about, could I handle all that detachment? Because you could never be more detached anyway than you could handle, because detachment is a byproduct of your advancement. It's not like, okay, on a very low level, I'm going to have a very high level of detachment. I mean, you could artificially force it. But I'm talking about natural. So you could never be naturally detached and not be able to handle it, because it would only happen because you're actually on that level. So you don't really have to be afraid, well, what if I chant really well, I become really advanced very quickly, and I become so detached, and and I won't want to hang out with my friends anymore, and I won't want to do this and that, and I won't want to play my guitar anymore, I won't like my pets anymore, Don't worry about any of that, because whatever level you come to, it will come to naturally. And so it will happen without your thinking about it. You won't have to try to do it. When we're not actually detached, then we have to try to kind of artificially be detached. But when we're actually detached as a byproduct of our advancement, then it happens. It's not something you think about. It just happens. So you never have to worry about, I don't think I could handle that detachment. You couldn't come to that level anyway, unless it were natural. So there's no worry about chanting Hare Krishna really well and worried about, what if I advance too quickly? It's not going to be a problem, believe me. Because when you're more advanced, you're more advanced. That's a profound statement, right? But you know what I mean. When you're more advanced, you're naturally more detached. So you don't have to worry about not being able to handle detachment because it just happens. So let's go to verse 2. Now, one way we can look at verse 2, at least I've been looking at it this way, is it follows verse 1 in the sense that verse 1 is, as we said, I think it lists 7 benedictions that you get from chanting the holy name. Transcendental knowledge, bliss, victory, taste of nectar, cleansing of the soul. It's cleanses the heart, extinguishes the fire of conditional life. Yeah, with all these benefits. Wow, that's pretty good. I get I think there's 7 benefits I get that are described in verse 1. So then in verse 2, I would say in verse 1, there's a lot to appreciate about the holy name. Yes, I have the holy name, and it's amazing, and I appreciate it. There's a lot to appreciate. And so in verse 2, then Mahaprabhu is taking the appreciation even to another level. So this is the result. Verse 1 is, these are the results of chanting. But verse 2, he's actually explaining why you get the results. It's an interesting way of looking at it. But Mahaprabhu is saying, the holy name is Krishna. So that explains why you get all the benefits of listed in verse 1, because I'm associating with Krishna. And so Mahaprabhu is more or less saying that you have agreed to appear in your holy name. And what could be better than that? Because, before you agreed to appear in your holy name, we had to go to the temple to see you in the form of the deity, or we had to do some yajna, or we had to do something which required a lot more effort and a lot internal effort, but also we needed the right environment. Even if it's meditation, it had to be in the mountains, in Sat Yuga. So we needed a lot of external adjustments and some internal adjustments. In chanting the holy name, there's no external adjustment necessary. Krishna's just there whenever you want him, like anywhere you are, wherever, Have you ever seriously chanted, when you thought you were going to crash in the car, or your husband was going to drive off the road, or your wife was driving off the road? Yeah. Or a car was coming the wrong way or cutting you off or something. There's this bird who's been visiting me every day. He comes and just looks inside, and I can't figure it out. And he keeps going up to the tree and back over. I was thinking, does he think she's looking for her child or something? It's strange. Anyway, so I just forgot, what was I saying? So Mahaprabhu is saying, you have Krishna. He's like, what could be better than this? That you can have Krishna anywhere, anytime. I mean, that's amazing. I think sometimes we take things for granted because we don't see it in relation to what was available in other ages. And, we say, okay, one age it was yajnas, one age was meditation, and one age was deity worship. But those are like major efforts that are required. And now Mahaprabhu is saying, but in this age of Kali, it's much easier and it's more amazing because Krishna is willing to be personally present in his name. Not partially present, but fully present. So the first part of this verse, Mahaprabhu is saying that basically saying this is amazing, and it's incredibly you're incredibly merciful to do this. It's just like, wow. It's just like, I can't believe it that you are present. And you make it so easy because you don't have to be a Brahmin. You don't have to be initiated. You don't have to be anybody. You just have to chant. That's all. So excuse me, I think the allergy season is starting to come. So, if you're a Brahmin and you have a mantra, well, first you have to qualify to be a Brahmin. Then you have to get initiated, and then you have to chant your mantra. You have to chant your mantra at sunset, at noon, and sunrise, noon, and sunset, more or less around those times. And you should be clean, and you should be facing a specific direction. You should be facing east. For morning Gayatri, when the sun is rising, you should be facing east. Noon, when the sun is over your head. And you should be facing north for your evening Gayatri when the sun is setting. Ideally clean. And you should be living a sattvic life. And if you don't live a sattvic life, the mantras don't work. That's hard and fast rules. That's what is meant by hard and fast rules. And that's just for us, not for other Brahminical activities we don't do. But doing pujas and yagyas, so many things are required. So Mahaprabhu is saying, you're so kind that you've come to us in your name, which means we could chant it anywhere, and you don't even require a time, a condition. I don't have to be clean. I don't have to be initiated. I could be a Alachua. Not that I could be. We were all born as Malechas by Vedic standards, outcasts, infidels. We were all infidels. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were not born in India, you're an infidel. Sorry to say. Even if you're born in India, there's a good chance you're also an Indian infidel, unless you were born in a Brahmin family or a Kshatriya family of a pure lineage. So, my dear infidels, you are so fortunate that you can chant the holy name. You don't have to be initiated to chant the holy name. That's what Mahaprabhu means. So, verse number 2, verse 1 glorifies the holy name and what it does, so it's an appreciation. But verse 2 takes the appreciation to a higher level by saying that Krishna is fully present. There's nothing absent in him. He is in his name, and he's given it to everybody. And so all we can say is, wow, that's amazing. Now, sometimes we don't say, wow, that's amazing, because we don't understand the other processes of self-realization, how they're done, or, strict Brahminical standards for doing everything, for which the holy name doesn't require. But when the more you understand about what's required to do pujas, yagyas, and also the requirements of the individuals as Brahmins and what they must do, then you say, wow, that's amazing. I'm just somebody off the street who didn't know about Krishna, and I'm given this mantra, and I can chant it, and there's no prerequisite. And there's nothing in Vedic mantras that in other Vedic mantras that allows that. You have to have some qualification of purity. Otherwise, the mantras, they don't really work. As philosophical ideas, they can work. You might say, but the chanting, it's Sanskrit, it's purifying. Yes. But technically speaking, to actually chant the Vedic mantras, you have to be initiated. So, and Mahaprabhu then takes this realistic position, playing the part for us as a conditioned soul, glorifying the holy name, appreciating the holy name, what it is, and how easy it is to chant, but I don't have any attraction. So I'm Durdaivam. I'm so unfortunate. Anuraga, I have no attraction. So that is our position, and it's kind of like someone loves you, but you don't love them. And you say, I'm so unfortunate, I don't love you. You're so loving to me. Something's wrong with me. I would like to love you. I would like to learn how to love you because you love me. So it's something like that. Krishna loves us, and we're unfortunate that we don't love him. And it's like, Krishna, I'd like to learn to love you because you love me, and I want to, but There's all this resistance and reluctance due to lifetimes of conditioning. So something like that. So you've done all this. This is amazing, and I'm not really even. I'm like, I have to chant my rounds. That's our misfortune. Yeah, still have rounds left. That's our misfortune. You ever feel that way? You ever say that? Then just think, that's my misfortune, that I'm feeling that way. So then, how do we chant? That we go into the third verse, and this is amazing, because if you sum up the third verse, really the essence of it is respect all living beings. Then, because all living beings are Krishna's children, and so there's this connection between becoming a lover of Krishna and becoming a lover of everyone else. Like we say, if we love everyone else, if you love Krishna, you love everyone else. This verse is kind of turning it around and saying, if you love everyone else, you'll love Krishna. At least if you respect every living entity. So how do you respect a tiger? You don't kiss it. But there are different ways that you respect different living beings. But your respect is that I'm spirit soul, you're spirit soul, we're all part of Krishna. I don't feel that I'm better than you. And so, I mean, that's deep meditation, just to reflect on what does it mean to respect an ant? Well, don't step on it. At least that much respect you can give, right? They have a right to live. Every living being has a right to live, a right to exist. Respect, really, in one sense, you can see the word respect as something the opposite of exploitation. So respect is the opposite of exploitation. So I respect all living beings. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. I'm trying to serve, give, like that. So Mahaprabhu is saying, when I come to that level, then I can get a taste for the holy name. And that's such an interesting thing to meditate on, because do we respect all living entities? Are there people you don't respect? Yeah, I don't respect this politician, that. Okay. We may criticize their policies or their misbehavior. But on a fundamental level, we need to respect them as, I respect you, you're a spirit soul, you're part of Krishna. I just think everything you say is stupid. I mean, it can be a little bit like that. I'm exaggerating. But there's a level of respect. Krishna's given you the right to say whatever you want to say. And I don't agree with it, but you are part and parcel of Krishna. You're a spirit soul. You're a divine being. I respect that. Namaste. Something like that. And then this respect is manifestation of humility, that I don't think that I'm better. And that's a tough one. To not think that I'm better than anyone, not even, better than any living entity. That's something we have to sleep on, because that is far, far away from our realization. But I find it so interesting that Mahaprabhu is saying, to be able to chant the holy name constantly, we have to come to this level of humility. So there's this huge connection between humility and taste for the holy name, and respect is part of humility. But I was focusing on respect because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when I respect all living entities, then I can chant the holy name. Please help me respect all living entities so that I can chant the holy name constantly, so I can have a taste for the holy name. So that's interesting. I think that's a beautiful aspiration, isn't it? To aspire to respect all living entities. That's beautiful. So we go to 4. And here is an important verse for us, because this defines how we should approach Krishna, not only in the holy name, but how we should approach him everywhere, without a desire for women, wealth, or fame, which is the desires that all conditioned souls have. and which bind us to this world. So I think this is quite simple. What do I want? Life after life. Life after life means that I'm willing to go anywhere you want me to go. I'm willing to do whatever you want me to do. It can also mean I don't feel qualified to go back to Godhead, but wherever I am, whatever life I'm in, liberated, not liberated, in this body, in the spiritual, whatever it is, I just want your pure devotional service. So this is what we understand as pure bhakti. It's done without these desires. And if we still have these desires, it is our hope and prayer that we can do bhakti without the desire to gain followers, to gain any kind of material benefit, or what to speak of women, or for men, for women it means men, what to speak of that. That's kind of like the grossest, that will be the grossest form of sense gratification. Of course, fame, wealth, and women, it's like, you don't generally want one without the other. They work synergistically. What's the use of all that money if you don't have a woman, right? What's the use of all the fame if the women aren't attracted to you? So that's the idea, that it's, that part of our life is finished. If I'm going to do pure bhakti, I have to finish that. And you might say, but what if I don't feel that way? But now you know how you should serve Krishna, with what should be your motive. That's what you're shooting for. And then number five reflects our condition. I've fallen into the ocean, just like the example. I've fallen into the well. A rope is given. The guru will pull you up if you hold onto the rope. So I can't get out of the well myself, so you have to pick me up. I'm helpless. That's verse 5 is such a beautiful verse to chant your rounds to, or in the mood of that verse, because it's total helplessness. I cannot love Krishna. I cannot develop love of Krishna unless I have your mercy. I can't do it on my own. And that's also the definition of humility. I can't do this on my own. So verse 3 and verse 5 are very similar, because humility pervades verse 5. I've fallen, I'm hopeless, and here I am, and without your mercy, I can't be picked up from my state of material consciousness. Fallen means, ultimately, it means fallen into material consciousness, right? I'm fallen to material consciousness. I haven't been able to get out of it. I've been in the material world since time immemorial. I'm still in material consciousness. So to think that I can get out of it on my own is the height of illusion, delusion. I can only get out of it by your mercy. So I've tried. You ever try something and you get frustrated and you ask for someone's help, and you definitely know you need their help because you've tried to do it and you failed. So that's the mood. I've tried. I can't get out of the material world. I tried to be happy. That didn't work. I tried to be spiritually evolved. That didn't work, or I only got so far. I need you. So that's verse 5. It's total helplessness. And verse 6, we had discussed a prayer, when will bhava come? And then verse 7 is separation. Separation, of course, can only exist where there's love. So this is taking love to a higher degree. So the previous verse is stating that we have love, but higher degree, the highest love, Prabhupada said, is separation. Separation is even better than meeting, but they both go together. So now Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani, feeling separation. And the last verse, it's totally Radharani's mood, Radharani's verse. Whatever you do with me, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, that will make me happy. Whatever you do, whatever makes you happy. Sometimes your friend will say, or your husband or wife or child will say, do you like this? Do you like that? Or do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And you'll say, no, whatever makes you happy, I'll do. Right? So that's Radharani to the extreme. Because Radharani cannot experience happiness independent of Krishna's happiness. It's impossible. She Like, that's our disease. I can experience happiness from doing something that may not please Krishna. That is a big problem, isn't it? I want to write that down. I think we should talk about that. That is like not good. If you experience happiness doing something, I have to move this over, that doesn't give Krishna happiness, not good. Radharani is teaching us that she can't. That's not possible for her. And so her happiness is only in connection to Krishna's happiness. And that's why she will say things, and we will read about her, that if something personally is difficult or so-called makes her unhappy, but it makes Krishna happy, then it cannot possibly make her unhappy. Her happiness cannot exist independent of Krishna's happiness. Not possible. Doesn't happen. If you can experience happiness independent, doing something that doesn't give Krishna happiness, not good. You've got a ways to go. So this last verse is taking to the highest level of bhakti. That's Krishna, you're happy? That's it. I'm happy. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. So I'm assuming you have some questions. So I'm going to go and see what you've said. You have a lot. Well, the problem is I can't. The good thing is I can't go past 11 because those long classes. Remember those long classes? I'd sometimes go for 2 hours. Well, we can't. Okay, so I don't want to miss. Okay, just double checking that I didn't miss any previous comments. And now I will read your comments. Jyotirmai says, how about the advancement that happens even if you chant badly? I chant very bad, but still I see that I am changing some things that are bad in my character. Yeah, it just happens more slowly. If you chant better, it will happen more quickly. So the changes you're seeing in yourself are happening over a period of time. More changes, more deeply, more powerfully, and more quickly will happen if you chant better. Tanya says, why is it said that the soul is cleansed by chanting the holy name? I understand that our heart consciousness is impure, but I thought the soul is, because sometimes the soul, consciousness, heart, the word Atma means consciousness, it means mind, it means heart, it means soul. So in that sense, it's used more figuratively. Soul cannot be contaminated, but figuratively speaking, we say contaminated, just like the Atmahana, killer of the soul. Can you kill the soul? But so why does Bhagavatam say kill the soul? Because it means it's being killed spiritually. So it's more of a sense to give us that the soul will cleanse the soul. You know, because the soul also meaning the essence. So it really means consciousness. Krishna Karsani says, is it not that pushing ourselves out of the limit is dangerous? We are on different levels, and if we push ourselves to a level which is really not our level, we may end up, yeah. But what I said is, you can't do, I don't know if that you're talking about in relation to detachment, but I was saying detachment is natural. So I'm not sure what you're referring to in the pushing. If you're referring to detachment, yeah, you can't detach more than you're detached, because then it becomes artificial. But to advance in Krishna consciousness, there's certain things you have to detach from just to get going. So you have to do something, right? But to try to come to a higher level of detachment, it has to happen as a byproduct of your Krishna consciousness. It can't just, I'm just going to detach. Yeah, we can detach from thoughts. We can do that. But it doesn't mean those thoughts will stop coming. the more advanced level, they'll stop coming. Right? Seriously, chanting in emergency. This is what you were saying. Yeah, like when you're sliding off the road in the snow. The way I drive, I always joke with my wife because she always thinks I'm going to crash. So I know how to get her to chant more in the car. I just drive like I'm going to crash, Make a left turn and it looks like a big truck's going to come and hit us. But I always leave at least 6 inches before the truck comes, So I've been driving since I'm 16. I'm overconfident. So I think I just take more chances than she does. I don't see them as chances. I don't get in accidents. But she doesn't see it that way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. She chants a lot when I drive. It's good for her. I specifically drive that way just so she'll chant more. No, only kidding. But sometimes it's funny to watch. I hear from a guru, a devotee goes to Prabhupada and he said, "Hey Prabhupada, I'm chanting 16 rounds, but I keep committing offenses. What do I do? Do I stop chanting?" And Prabhupada replies, "No, keep chanting so much as you can stop committing offenses. But the important thing is that you don't stop chanting." Yeah, right. So this is interesting. If you stop chanting, then it's like, well, now what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to stop chanting and I'm going to wait. What are you going to wait for? So I can start chanting better. What are you going to do to start chanting better? Well, I'll eat less, or I'll sleep less, or I'll read Bhagavatam more. That's okay, but, that's not exactly how you do it. So you keep chanting, but the whole, if you commit offense to holy name, what's the solution? The solution is to chant without committing offense. The solution is not to chant committing offense. That's not what it's meant. You say, well, just keep chanting. Yeah, but how do you keep chanting? How would continually chanting with offense really improve? How would that help you overcome offense? It means you chant. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you chant with remorse that you committed the offense. That's going to work. But if you, 108 rounds of shnick, shnick, wom, wom, it's not going to help. But at least if you're chanting, you've got this much, head above water. The water's right to your nose. So at least you're not going to drown. But, if you really want to advance, you have to stop committing offenses. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now almost 11. And I have not eaten anything today. And I have 6 minutes to eat something. And I have a little power bar, which I could eat in 6 minutes. So I'm going to sign off. And then we're going to do our japa. If you want to join us on japa. And Nadia, you can put in the chat the address, which is 702-043-3455. That's 702-043-3455. That's the Zoom address. 702-043-3455.